I knew it. 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 I already called this from the first episode that this girl is giving me love and hip hop reject. Like, I just flipping knew it. I cannot believe, or I can believe, what I actually just watched last night, because in no way, how are you basically for before the season aired saying that you did not say anything? It made it seem like Kenya was lying, nothing went that way, and what I just saw last night was literally what Kenya was just pretty much saying the entire last year. But let's get into the episode. We got a scene where we saw Dennis and Drew in the studio. And of course, she basically discussed the whole situation with she and Portia. She really wants Dennis to actually smooth over the issue between the two of them, because to her understanding, Dennis had a conversation with her and she's not understanding why is it that Portia still has a hard-on pretty much for her. And of course, Dennis really wants to stay out of it because he doesn't really want to get on Portia's bad side. And this is not just a situation where it's just an ex-girlfriend. This is also his baby's mother. So you know how Portia can be petty. So he doesn't necessarily want it to then turn into where she decides to be petty when it comes on to the child, with him not able to see his child and everything like that. So I see the point of view why he necessarily doesn't want to get too involved in it. But we are on this show and we just have to talk about it. So I don't see the main issue why he does not really want to get into it. But at the end of the day, we kind of have to get into it because you came onto this platform. You're working with someone who is a cast member or a previous cast member at the time for her. It is going to cause some drama. So I guess this is all planned, or he really is just trying not to get really involved in it. But from my understanding, it comes off as if like you are creating the mess, but then don't want to clear up the mess, if you get what I'm saying. The next thing we started off with, which was Britt and Angela, the two noses. They came together and they pretty much were having a conversation where Angela is deciding to have an event where she wants to invite all of the ladies. She believes that she and Shamia get off on the wrong foot, which I also believe. Then they discussed, she saying that she feels like this is where Britt came in and says that she always gotten warm vibes from Shamia, but Kenya is the one that she has not gotten that vibe from. And I don't know if it's me or it's you, but I'm sick and tired every week. We're hearing the same thing about Kenya did this and Kenya said this about my ring and Kenya did this. Girl, this is the first episode. And I don't care if the producers are removing scenes of what maybe Kenya said about her, but at this point, it's like you can still be upset over the same thing over and over and over and over and over. Like, it's getting tiring. Every scene that she's in, it has to be brought up. And again, I don't know if it's she's really bothered or is it that the producers are really putting her up to be bothered, because I don't see how someone asking a genuine question about a ring needs to be carried on into how many episodes afterwards and you're still making this thing an issue when clearly we the audience have seen where each scene when you guys are in together, Kenya greets you pleasantly. Yet you're still saying that she gives you off vibes. At this point, I don't think it's a Kenya problem. I just think it's a you problem. Because I don't see what more do you want from Kenya when it comes on to her greeting you. I just don't understand it. And we are going to see that play off in the last scene of the episode. But I don't know what more is it that you're looking for when it comes on to Kenya. Because you can't really be that upset about this damn ring. I'm sure it was not shown, but I'm sure other persons had questions as well. And maybe Kenya was the only one who was brave enough to ask a question, which was a legitimate question at this point. So I don't know what more are you expecting to get from this situation. We moved on to where we had a scene, which I'm assuming this would have been more Kenya's personal story, where we saw Kelly going to Kenya's More Hair Spa, which we all know the grand opening is next week. And she showed Kelly around. She and Kelly pretty much bonded quite okay. Kelly herself doesn't know what Brit is talking about, to show you how Brit is delusional, where she says that Kenya has been really cool and kind with her. They're both bonded over, their exes. We found out that Kelly has a bodyguard because apparently her ex threatened her in court and she has had a restraining order against him. And for her safety and her kids' safety, she has a bodyguard, which I felt for her, because I don't know what that is like to have for someone who you used to love threatens you and you have children, and at the same time you have to be walking around with a bodyguard because you don't know if what moment, yes, you have a restraining order against him, but you don't know at what moment if this person will strike. And for that, I was like, that is so sad. And you don't even know when will be the moment where you can feel free, where you don't necessarily have to have a bodyguard to protect you pretty much from your ex. And that is really sad for Kelly, and I felt it for her, really. We saw where also Kenya was speaking about her pretty much anxiety when it comes on to her opening the hair spa, because she's worried about getting persons in. And to my knowledge, I'm not sure if the hair spa is actually officially open now and she's having customers and stuff, but I remember her one time saying that she had persons after the whole incident pretty much making fake bookings and stuff, and that was causing an issue. So I'm not sure if now she has someone who is basically, like she's having customers now and not necessarily where she was as when the scene was filmed. But both of them bonded over that, and again, Kelly was really felt warm welcoming and felt normal. The two of them had Kiki, and this is the Kenya I know of since recently. Even Portia said that she came into the season very light. So to my knowledge, I am really heavily confused as to what Brit is talking about and what Kenya or what version of Kenya she getting. Because in my head, I think that Brit is coming onto the show with a version of season 5, season 6 Kenya. And she's not getting that, and she's trying to trigger that part out of her so she can have her storyline. Because to my knowledge, I don't know what storyline has Brit really brought into the show, because the scenes that she's having with her family member seems forced. It seems like, how is it that after all these time, all of a sudden now your family or your sister wants to sit down with you? And even that sit down alone was very mind-boggling, because your sister is here saying that your husband is always around, she doesn't have any time with you, but then in the same breath your husband is calling you, you're cutting the dinner or the lunch short because he is calling. And this is the same thing that she is talking about, and I don't know what you left the conversation think she was talking about, but I was literally just confused as to the whole situation when it comes on to your sister, because at this point it's given delusional, because she's having a conversation seriously with you, and in the moment you're like, I know you don't want to hear this, but he's actually texting and calling me. And now that seems controlling, because you don't have a child at home, he knows you're out, he knows you're filming, why is he calling you to tell you to come back home? I don't get it. Honestly, I don't get it. We get into the highlight, which would be for me is the ladies arrived for Angela's event. And this is where we saw where Shamia came with an olive branch, literally. And she basically squashed whatever beef she and Angela had. They moved on from that. Kenya came with not the dress code and pretty much says that she did not read the invite, so she wasn't aware that it was a full black attire, but of course it's Kenya. She came in, she greeted everybody, she greeted Brit, but yet Brit in the moment had to say, oh my god, that's not a hug, like whatever the case is. And at this point, I feel like even if Kenya breathes, it's an issue for Brit. I think if she breathes wrong, if she breathes in the wrong direction, if she decides to cough, Brit is going to have a problem with it, because for me, Brit is coming on to this show trying to find a moment to create with Kenya, because she herself has nothing going on in her life. and her life basically will, her story will make sense if she has an issue with Kenya. And it's sad to say that is the highlight of her time on the show because of that issue with Kenya. Hence why she has her name. But at the end of the day, if it wasn't for that situation, I would not know what Brit would be bringing into the show, because from day one, I have said it. Brit gives me love and hip hop, basketball wives, wags. I don't know why the audience, or some of the audience, I should say, keeps gassing this girl up, saying that she is the breath of fresh air. She's the best thing since sliced bread, and all of the above. And at the end of the day, she is not giving me what housewives should give. I don't care if it's a new era. I'm more feeling Kelly and Angela at this point. She, on the other hand, just gives me ratchet and forced. And of course, it pretty much spilled over into this actual episode. They started asking some questions around the table. Then at the end, I think most of the questions was surrounding Kenya. And then, of course, Brit came back up again and saying that why is it that she doesn't get a warm welcome or whatever it is when it comes on to Kenya. And I think Kenya, as she rightfully clocked it, where you're looking for a moment, so you know what, I'm going to let you have this moment. And then she starts to get into this back and forth. Well, not really back and forth, because she literally was like arguing with herself at this point, where she was basically saying that she doesn't want no moment and whatever, she's going to respect her and stuff like that. Kenya said that, you know, the president always has to come for the queen. And then it just continued escalating until even everybody at the table was a bit confused as to why Brit is so overly dramatic when it comes on to this. And again, I just said it. She wants a moment. She wants some storyline, some drama to happen throughout the entire season with Kenya, because she wants first seat maybe at the reunion, which I would not see she getting if Kenya was still there, because it would more likely be Portia on this side and Kenya on the other side. So she kept trying to force this issue until they were all leaving. And then that's when we had Brit saying the remarks that she said. And it's sad, where last year when all of this came out, we had a lot of blogs and news articles and sources saying that there was no threat. Nothing was said. She had nothing on her, whatever the case is. And then we clearly saw it, which I'm happy they showed it, because I thought they would have edited out to make it seem like Kenya was lying and made it seem as if she just came out of nowhere and decided to do what she did. And to be honest with you, in the beginning, I was like, Kenya, that was a bit too far. But based on what I just watched, go low as you can go, because if someone threatens you when it comes on, and this is not a threat that she's going to beat your ass or a threat that she's going to whatever, this is a threat when it comes on to, you know what, I would not take that shit lightly. And if I complain to my bosses or HR or whatever, and they decided not to do shit about it, in Kenya's fashion, you're going to dig up some information on this girl, okay? You're going to embarrass the fuck out of her, because maybe that will get her off the show or get her to pipe down a bit. So for her to do what Kenya did, for Kenya to do what she did, I'm so sorry. Maybe I'm have rose-colored glasses on, but to my knowledge, she did what she had to do, because all of that was not warranted. The issue or the argument was not that serious. Even if your issue with her is that she doesn't greet you warmly and she made a comment about your ring, it still did not reach to the level where she has to basically make threats. And for persons saying that Kenya threatened to punch or whatever beat Phaedra when she was pregnant, okay, but that's still not a you know what threat. And for her to say that, and for persons to say that she'd never necessarily threatened Kenya, in my head is, if you're in an argument with someone, or someone is in an argument with you at this point, and in the midst of this argument, the person says that they have this on them and they walk around, or they have this or that, whether they physically have it with them or not, but they mention that at any point, you personally will take it personal to say that this person is making a threat against my life. Because how does that fall in? We're having an argument about completely different stuff. You decided to repeatedly, because it's not once she said it, repeatedly say, this is why you have this and you have your this and your that. why would you not take that shit personal to say this person is making a threat against your life? So for persons to say that she was not being threatened and she did not necessarily verbatim said Kenya, you guys are delusional. And God forbid, if you're in a situation and someone says that to you, I hope you continue with that same notion that I didn't actually make a threat against you and you walk on with your life completely okay. Because if someone say that shit to me, I'm taking that shit as a threat. And if I reported that shit and no one did shit about it, I am going to do my own digging and do the same as what fucking Kenya did. And for a person saying that for her to do that and then she lost her job or whatever it might be, I honestly felt more along the lines where I don't think anyone has necessarily came out and said that she was fired from the show. They said she was suspended, and I just had a feeling, to me, allegedly feels that she just did not continue with the season because she doesn't feel protected. And that's what I see from the situation. I don't see where she ended up losing her work because she did say she's still getting paid for the show. So, yes, she's not a part of the show. They have cut down their scenes. She has no confessional. But at the end of the day, if you're still getting paid for the show, I don't see how Kenya actually lost here. She lost in the terms of she did not get to display her business in the way how she wanted it to be, or played out the entire season and give more promotion when it comes on to her hair spa. But I don't necessarily see where she necessarily lost if she's still getting paid from the show. And she doesn't even have to be a part of the show. She doesn't really have to promote the show. And she's still getting paid according to Kenya. What loss did she make because she doesn't have to be around this gutter girl anymore? So I don't see what loss she has had. But this episode, next week, we see where you had to take someone to go to Brit to let her know that what she said was like a threat. And then she comes with this fake ass flowers to Kenya's hair spa trying to apologize regarding. Girl, it's too late. The receipts and whatever Kenya has is already planned. It's too late. And you said what you said. Your nasal voice went away when you were making your threats. And now you're trying to come back and save face by trying to apologize for what you did. So where was the tough talk that you pretty much were displaying? And then for her to come on social media and then display this, where basically for the entire season when it was being played out on social media, you came out and said you said no such thing and was running with the narrative as if like Kenya was delusional and she was just trying to find an excuse or a reason for whatever she did. For you to then come around and then make an apology like this to say that she pretty much saying that you did not have anything on you and you weren't making any threats and whatever the case might be. And girl, you're switching up right now to save face. And I'm like, you were bragging so hard before the season aired to say that she is pretty much delusional or she's trying to play victim. And now look who's playing victim at this point. So I don't know what world you're living in. I don't know if you thought you really were well prepped for this thing, but you were being gassed before the season aired, and you were also being gassed as the season started to air. And I want to see what these persons who were gassing you up, what they have to say now when it comes on to what was actually aired last night, because I don't see where in what world what you did was okay and felt like you were going to get away with it. So let me know, guys, in the comment section your thoughts on the actual episode. For me, I give it an 8 out of 10. Did not like the last part, but it also vindicated Kenya. But let me know, guys, in the comment section your thoughts on the episode. Remember, guys, to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, y'all.